Hey, Taco Tuesday fans, this is Christian Brindle.
And I am Glenn Shelton.
We came together and combined our forces to create something special for insurance agents called Taco Tuesday. Let's taco about insurance. My company, Christian Brindle Insurance Services,
and my company, Lead Heroes,
is here to bring you the latest and greatest news happening in the insurance industry today and eat some tacos while we do it.
If you enjoy the content that we put out on this podcast, feel free to leave us a review or subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
Without further ado, let's get into this episode of Taco Tuesday.
I've got a new hot sauce today, you guys.
Now we're live.
It's truffle oil and chili pepper hot sauce. I'm super pumped to try this out today.
Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome to another rendition of TT, Taco Tuesday. Glenn Shelton. I'm Christian Brindle. And today we have a very, very special guest, somebody who has been on before. And we're really excited to welcome back the one and only, the legend, Medicare Bobby Beisch.
Bobby Beisch!
Representing the what would you call Mr. Robert Beisch, the top 0.0001% of the industry?
I think it's like there's IMO, FMO, and then there's like royalty. So I think that's where Bobby's at. But I'm super excited to have you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I tricked the world. No, no, I appreciate it, you guys. No, it's really good to see you guys again. I am actually going, like I told you guys, I'm going out to dinner tonight with Galen and Jagger and David later on. So I do not have any tacos, but I will, I'll join you guys and eat my tacos next Tuesday. But yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Well, the feeling's mutual. We have a lot we want to get into, so I don't want to waste any time. I just kind of want to jump right into it. But before we do that, of course, we got to see what tacos Glenn has. I have a taco for you guys.
So this is my second round of tacos today, you guys. I already had rolled tacos. I'm dedicated. Rolled tacos. Now we're just kind of a street style soft taco. This hot sauce, though, holy cow. It is amazing. No, I don't get paid to advocate for this, but if you like truffle oil and you like hot sauce, woo, spicy, delicious.
Is that our new unofficial sponsor? Did that take?
I was going to say, you guys are really missing the boat here. We got to get you guys like sponsored by Tijuana Flats or somebody.
There we go.
Seriously.
Product placement, like, slight brags.
So I got something that might be a little weird out some of our audience that might, really stretch the imagination of what's possible on Taco Tuesday. We have a vegan tofu taco. Because that's what the staff wanted today. That's what everybody wanted. That's what the wheel chose, right? The wheel decided. The wheel's over there behind me. That's what it chose for the office.
The universe. Now, are you normally a vegan?
No way. But
no way.
But someone in my office is. So we gave him a vegan option on the wheel.
Okay, well that's fair. My wife's a non-dairy vegetarian, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no, I probably should be a vegan, but I'm not. I'm not disciplined enough when it comes to eating anyway. But anyway, guys, there's a really important topic that we wanted to kind of get into with Bobby, and for those of you who don't know who Mr. Robert Beisch is, like, this guy knows call centers, right? Like, this is a guy that's built call centers, worked with call centers, trained call centers, scaled call centers.
Sold a call center.
Yeah, I mean.
Did it all.
Obviously, with a lot of the Facebook groups, there's a lot of chatter, mostly from the standpoint, usually I think it's fair to say that a majority of the agents that are in the Facebook groups are independent agents, right? Maybe field agents, maybe people that don't come from the call center world as much, or maybe not as much of a voice for that. So I know there were some things that you wanted to cover. I just kind of wanted to give you the wheel and let you ride with it. I mean, because
I want to add to one other thing, because like this is so on topic with something I just saw in another Facebook group just yesterday. There was an agent that said, this was verbatim what this agent said. He said, 9 out of 10 final expense policies that are sold are criminal. Essentially the senior either, didn't want it, or, they're being misled, or it was, the wrong product for that senior. And I feel like we're kind of, it's like right in line with this idea that, there's a big group of agents who are scamming people. So yeah, I'd love to kind of jump into this on the telesales side as well, because there is kind of this call centers have a bad rep that I think is really important to discuss too. But Bobby, I'd love for you to just kind of jump in and kind of talk about why does that happen? Why do call centers get a bad reputation?
Yeah. So, I mean, full disclosure, guys, I had like a 5-minute conversation. I thought we were already live, and then they told me we weren't. So I'm going to try to repeat what I had said to the girls. I apologize. So I think, like I told you guys before, one of the reasons I wanted to meet with you guys and use your platform to share something with you is, I was on Facebook a couple weeks ago. And by the way, I love the different channels and outlets people have nowadays, agents. I was begging for outlets when I first started. I really did. I came from a total different industry. I was learning insurance like everybody else, but there wasn't the ability to reach out to really smart people in the industry like you guys have created. There wasn't platforms with other newbies, so that it was definitely more of an isolated feeling. There was Chris Westfall and I got close early on because he was online, Danielle, Galen, and Jagger and stuff like that, because we were all kind of like, there was only a few of us. Now there's so many people and so many communities. So, and I know Galen always says all the time, keep it all positive, which is good. But so I was on the page, someone made a comment like, call centers are bad for the industry. And, I was like, I don't know, I could have been playing Madden and drinking something. And I was just like, that ain't cool. Like, because now, you're saying,
the Michael Jordan meme where he's like, and I took that personally, like,
yeah, I was like, exactly. I was like, I'm kind of a call center guy. So, and I think I've helped the industry. Right. And so I think, and I told you guys this a little bit earlier, like the reality is this, there are really, really good local agents and there are bad local agents. There are really, really good call centers and there are some bad call centers, and I would say part of the call center realm, I also include the expansion of digital marketing. Okay. Sure. Which I would argue has been hugely beneficial for consumers. The amount of information that is on YouTube, like if you really are a consumer turning 65, you can get on Christian's channel, my channel, Danielle's channel, Westfall's channel, and you can really learn Medicare, and Keith has great videos that learn. There's this girl, Ashley, I think she's in Utah, maybe. I forget. Like there's some really good content on YouTube. Like if you really want to learn Medicare, you can. And I think that goes in part with telesales and call centers, because I don't think there's a need for that if you're not advertising, at least in a regional level, right? Like, so I just wanted to talk about, I think that our goal for the industry should be to let the consumer learn how they want to learn and purchase how they want to purchase. So if a consumer wants to learn online and then call that person to sign up, they should be able to do that. If they want to go meet with somebody face to face and purchase that way, they should be able to do that. But I think for us as an industry, we should strive to provide excellence in the different avenues that people want to purchase. So what does that mean? So there's a couple things I want to go over today with everybody. One, where I think the future is for everybody, as far as where the industry is going and how I really believe call center / telesales is really gonna continue to be a big player. And I also have a document that there's a gentleman I work with named Brian Keevan, who works with me at AmeriLife, and he oversees our affiliated call centers. And him and I have worked together. He's a complete stud. He worked in carriers for over 30 years, he's forgotten more about insurance than I know.
Hey, before we get more in, like, I love where this is going, and I want to get into more of the details because I feel like the details of this stuff gets glossed over all the time. But could you take a second, maybe talk about, like, your experience going from an agent to a call center owner to selling a call center. Because again, like, I just want anyone who's watching this, whether you're watching it live or you're watching a replay, or maybe you're listening to the audio of this on the podcast, I just want everyone to understand, why you should listen to Bob, because his experience, he has so much experience in this. Like he's genuinely just trying to help you guys when it comes to this topic that comes up all the time. So I'd love for you to take a second, maybe dive into your background a little bit, building up your call center and kind of maybe what that looked like. And then we can get into more of the details on the compliance side.
Yeah. So, I think most of you know, I worked at a Transact for 3 years. I was Mutual Omaha's top producer, sold over 1,000 policies a year for 3 years straight. And then actually, I didn't know anything about insurance. I knew when I got into it, I learned how to sell insurance, at Transact. But with all due respect, this was, 12, 13 years ago. So even their training has come a long way. But back then, honestly, man, like it was the Medicare and U book for a week, and then they threw you on the phones. It wasn't even now, like some call centers, like they do a Medicare, like I help some of our affiliates and, they wonder why their attrition rate's so high and the agent fail rate is so high. And it's because, no one's training them on how to sell. FMOs historically are good at teaching product, but they're not good at teaching you how to sell. And so, but going back to your question, so I worked there for 3 years. The Med Sub Conference actually was down in Miami back in 2012. And for me at the time, it was a lot of money. I don't even know how much it was to go. I think with the hotel and everything, it was like $3,500, which for me, I mean, I was making 135 grand a year, which means I was spending 150. So like 3,500, I mean, a kid's wife, house, right? I mean, I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to go to this event, and it was a lot of money, definitely put it on a credit card to go. Like, it wasn't like I had the extra money to do it. But I went down there and again, this was the only conference we had at the time. Like, I am so like Justin Brock, I didn't mention his name earlier, obviously, like you, Christian, like agents have so many more platforms and opportunities to learn from people that have done it before. And yes, a lot of you guys monetize that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as the value is, if the value is there, 100%. Like if I could have expedited my learning process, I might've been able to sell my company double what I sold it for. Right. Because, if it can get you there faster, it's good. And now people have those avenues, but I didn't have that back then. There was no, training other than Westfall's training, which I don't think even he had 100% up yet when I did this. Like, I think it was kind of happening at the same time. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know you could look there. Right. God told me to go to the Med Sub Conference, and it was in Miami. So I booked it and I went there and I learned, and I didn't learn a lot. Like, I mean, I didn't take away everything but I went. It's funny how the Med Sub Conference for me has evolved over time. When I first went, I was in a seat in a session the whole day, all 2 or 3 days of the thing. Right now, when I go, truthfully, I'm in some hotel executive room meeting with carriers or brokers or lead companies. But I still go when I can because it's now it's a networking event for me. Like, everybody has their journey, and as you go through your journey, like, things have a different meaning for you. So when I first went to Med Sub Conference, I was just trying to soak up everything I could. I did not know what an FMO was. I didn't know anything.
Right.
Well, while I was there, I met with Health Plan One, and they had an initiative to open up downline call centers. And so, I met with them, and they have a relationship where I was working at. So they said, look, we can't talk to you while you still work there, but if you ever leave there, then we can have a conversation about maybe helping you start up an agency. So I said, okay. So I worked at Transact for like 2 or 3 more months, and then finally went in and quit. And other advice: never burn a bridge. Always leave the right way. Like, I see young people. I was young still. I was in my mid-20s, and don't ever tell your boss F off and leave because you just. I'm being honest. Like, there was even when I was at Transact. I mean, there was agents that were like, I'm going on my own, and then they would leave. And then they would fail in 6 months. And this was before, there was like, now you can go get a job down the road at another Medicare call center here in the Tampa Bay area. I mean, there's tons of us here. But back then that was it, you know? And so like, if you went off on your own, it didn't work. Like, now you you're in trouble. So, but also it's just the right thing to do. So I went and, I gave them my 2 weeks, worked there. They didn't let me do my 2 weeks, but at least I offered, normally when someone's buying you leads, they don't let you stay the 2 weeks, but it's still good to offer it. And so anyway, so I left there, opened up my agency. One of the first things and the best advice I give people all the time is your first hire should be an admin. Nobody is going to be as good as you at selling, like especially before you build the training curriculum. And also when you go to mentor, and I've actually had conversation with Christian about this, I think one-on-one on the phone, like, when you go to mentor, it still hurts your capacity because it's an investment of your time, which hurts your sales, and so it's a challenge to do that. So I encourage you to hire an admin person. So anything and what are those tasks? Well, they're going to evolve over time, but it's anything that's stopping you from selling. So non-resident licenses, CE credits, paying your rent, paying your telephone bill, hire one person, carrier contracts. I would hire a person to do that first because especially when you get going and cash is so key and God, dude, you're paying you're paying today's bills with money you hope to get tomorrow. That's a true grind.
Yeah.
Any hour you're not on the phone or doing something to make you money, it's hurting you. So that was something I did that was right. I had a really good friend of mine, for $500 a week, I paid him. And he came in and was doing all the back end stuff so that I could just dial. And, back then too, internet leads were like $8 to $12, which is a huge difference. Now, Glenn, you and I are working together. Leads are way more now,
Right.
And so, but that helped, I always, anybody who's had a level of success, luck pays a part. But there's also the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get. But if you read any books about Elon Musk, Grant Cardone, there is a timing
100%.
And I would be lying to you if, my journey, I have benefited from timing and being one of the first ones in, and benefiting from that doesn't mean that you can't still get in and be successful. But, now you're getting in and it's harder in some ways and also easier in some ways. Because I also didn't have CSG's quoting tool wasn't around.
Right.
So when I'm on the phone, I'm pulling up Mutual's website, Heartland's website, Cigna's website, so there's always excuses on why you're not making it. And there's always, but definitely benefit from timing. So I hired someone as my admin. That was my first hire. And it was just me on the phones and I'm building it out. And then, I started messing around on YouTube a little bit, helped out with some lead generation in that way. And then when I started getting more phone calls, I also, little nugget here, get the leads before you hire the agents. So I'm going to say that again. Get the leads before you hire the agents. One of the worst things you could do is grow you go hire 6 of your friends because you have this great opportunity for them and you really believe that, and you go hire 6 of them, but now they're sharing enough leads that really only 2 of your buddies and you could really work, right?
You can't feed them.
And then you lose them and you spend all this time and energy training them. And, so the other thing is I would, even if you have to overbuy leads for 3 weeks or something, right? You got to make sure that you can deliver those leads before you scale. Because the worst thing you could do is spend all the money getting them licensed and all the time and energy training them, and then you don't have the leads to feed them.
Well, dude, I love so far, you put in all the work. There's so many organizations that preach recruiting and agency building up front, where literally I'm seeing agents getting licensed. They're selling policies for maybe a week or two. And then all of a sudden the FMO or IMO, they're just drilling them on recruit. So I feel like you really, really just built kind of brick upon brick, layer on layer. You were a successful agent, then you branched out on your own. And once you really got that figured out, then an admin, now you're bringing, it feels like you were very methodical about it. So I love that so far and kind of your background and what you're sharing here, but continue.
Thanks. And I wish I could tell you, I sat down and had a business plan like that, but I didn't. I'm just being honest. It was just kind of I'm going to try this. And I dove, and I made mistakes along the way. And I'm making mistakes every day now, right. And Danielle, who is one of the smartest people I know, she's making mistakes every day too. We all do. That's the other thing. I really think the biggest key to success in agency ownership, or really just in general, is really grit and the ability to, pivot. And so I'll kind of segue now. So I was exclusively buying leads from Health Plan One when I first started. And because they were my upline, I was getting a discount on their leads because they're getting an override on my policies. Okay. Fair deal. Right. And so I was growing on their leads. Well, I have a great relationship with them and they're like sending me leads and we're closing them better than their shop. Okay. So they were like, hey, why don't you come in and train our agents? So now I'm getting exposure to the corporate call center world and bigger world. I had exposure at Transact, but I was an agent. I wasn't walking in with the CEO and the CFO and CMO and teaching agents. So I got my first taste of I got to teach agents and build a training curriculum, and they weren't my agents, but it was kind of still a good experience for me. So I went there, and then they grew their brokerage and they started selling less leads. So going to that, being able to pivot, again, sometimes the worst challenges in your business, like that night, like the night that your heart drops and you're like, holy shit, like this is going to make me close my business. Sometimes, that could be true, but it's also going to be, okay, like that could happen, or you figure it out. And so for me, the timing was for Facebook. I got to ride the Facebook wave. So the timing just worked out where I was supplementing the leads I was buying Health Plan One with Facebook. And then I taught myself Facebook so well that I ended up not having to buy any leads. So now I think I'm awesome, man. I'm lead independent. Like that's awesome, right? And I rode the Facebook wave for about 2 years.
And there was, there's this quote that was attributed. I think Galen was the one that actually shared it with us. I think you said, if anyone who grew up playing video games could figure out Facebook ads. Is that right?
Yeah, I remember that. I think wasn't it like N64 was the quote? Like if you grew up playing N64 or something like that.
I've said it a couple different times. I mean,
that's what I remember. That's all I remember.
I really do. I'm a geek, man. I like anime. I like Marvel, everything. Yeah, I mean, I
remember when I came to your office, you had a Goku statue on your little Goku figure on your desk, and I was like, that's Goku, and I was like, I think a little surprised I knew who he was.
Spirit Bomb.
Yeah, that's what I had, the Spirit Bomb poster.
No way.
Yes. So when he beat Freezer and Planet Namek, so now I'm really geeking out. But they but to your point, like okay, even if you look at Goku, right? Like Goku is the most resilient superhero I know. Because I mean, he literally, in order for him to get stronger, he has to get beat.
He literally died and then ran back.
Right? To fight again.
Yeah. And so he gets excited. Well, and he gets excited when there's a challenge, right? When he sees a stronger fighter than him. So I don't know. So maybe that's why I like him a lot. So Facebook rode that wave for like 2 years. And then Facebook got oversaturated. Christian was teaching everybody how to use it. Really screwed my business up.
Justin Brock did it first. Justin Brock did it
first. Shift the blame. Good job, bro.
But again, you have to pivot, right? And so, then I taught myself. And video games. To your point, look, I built my website on WordPress by myself. I built the CRM that I was using with Agent Cube. I mean, it was already pre-built, but anybody who uses CRM, you have to have some level of developmental abilities to maintain it and update it and stuff, and then Facebook and then Google and Bing, it's all just a video game. And even Salesforce, now that we rolled that out, I was able to learn it really quickly because it's intuitive to me, like you guys. So Facebook went away, Google, Bing, blah, blah, blah. COVID hit. And, I looked at shopping my company around a little bit. I just felt like I took my company as far as it could go. Truthfully, I saw these other call centers going public and the call center economics are challenging.
So at this point, how big was your call center? How many agents did you have?
Yeah, we were I think 24 selling agents and then another 10 or 12 licensed agents that were doing customer care and then 2 marketing people. So 40, I think 40 to 50 people. So nothing huge, right? I mean, but so in the industry, what you'll find is what I have found in the call center space, at least, and I think this is probably true in the agency space, but maybe, again, you guys will know more than me. You can have one super talented person, and that can basically stretch to about 25 to 30 agents. But then a lot of agencies, because I'm looking at buying agencies now, and they have a hard time scaling past that 30 agent mark.
I think Christian's for sale.
Everybody's for
Let's negotiate this right now. You guys.
The number's
but
right.
like, everybody's for sale. I mean, I wasn't for, you know, I talked to Galen the last 7 months. She wasn't for sale. I got and not only was Galen not for sale, she told me why she wasn't for sale. And it was like this heartwarming story. And then I meet with her and she sold. So, you know, I mean, I know she got, you know, everybody's got what they need, you know. I mean, look, we're all, everything and everybody's for sale, period. I don't
for sure.
So about 40, 50 people. And now, you know, Glenn, you and I are working together. I mean, we're up to like 100 agents or so and another 35 support members. And I'm being challenged every day right now. I mean, you know, and learning and trying to figure that out. So yeah, that's kind of the background and where I'm at now. And right now, you know, it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge feeding 100 agents with good quality leads outside of annual enrollment, you know, and that's been this year. We hired, I think, 140 and, you know, we have about, I think 90 left or so, which our target attrition rate was to be 60%, which industry average is 50. So far so good. But, you know, I've got 76 agents that are going to their first ever AEP because our model, we got everybody licensed, you know, ourselves. And then we trained them because around here, man, I mean, if you recruit from the other call centers, like people like, how are you and Jagger such good friends? You got office right across the street. I'm like, dude, if you didn't work well for Jagger, you're not going to work well for me and vice versa. Like, I mean, I know how he runs his business. He's a good dude. Right. And, you know, the leads suck everywhere, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're either good. I mean, it's how, you know, if they suck so bad, then how come my top 20% doubles everybody else, right? Like they're dying the same.
Not the leads.
Right.
So, you know, Christian's kind of looking at going this direct. Christian's looking at hiring LOA agents, right? Like that's in his agency. That's really kind of going to be a big focus that he's already kind of publicly talked about. He's trying to be held accountable for. So as someone who's now hired, you know, you got over 100 LOA agents on payroll, is that really kind of the strategy that works best, you feel like, is taking someone who's never had their license, getting them licensed, and then being able to kind of mold them?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's for a bunch of reasons. So like, you know, one reason is, you know, people that are in the business that, you know, they some of them, and again, I've had successful people. So this is like, I'm going to make this statement. People like, you know, I can learn, like there's pros and cons to all of it. Let me just say that way. So, but in my experience, you know, yes. Like, yeah, just because I can teach, you know, it's, and this isn't any business, and anyone who's owned a business knows this, you know, it's probably the same in your business now. You know, it's harder to retrain someone to do something differently than it is to train them to do something new. You know, and especially like, you know, if you're me or you're Christian, like Christian's not going to have a problem having credibility in the room, you know, because he's done this at a high level, you know, and when he sits down and tells you something, you know, you're going to listen because he's successful. I feel like I have that too. And the other cool thing, like for Christian too, and myself, is there's not a job in the business that I haven't done. So in my agency, so like, you know, there's nothing I'm asking you to do that I haven't done 100 times. So, you know, yeah, I do think that's the right, for us, it's the right way to go. You know, the pros and the other way is, you know, if you hire from a call center, they might already have non-resident licenses, you know, they know Medicare a little bit more. But again, what I found is there's a huge opportunity to teach agents how to sell the product. I think, you know, the product knowledge, especially with FMOs and stuff, are there if they have experience, but selling over the phone is different too than selling in person. But it's actually, you're taking me to like what I was going to go over last, but I'll just do it now, is like where I think the future is like, you know, Brock and Christian, I think are going to be the future, which is, you know, I think going back to what I originally said is we should strive to help people purchase the product how they want to buy it. So Christian can have his agency in person like Brock does, right? I mean, Brock's brother, man, is killing on the phones when there's not somebody in person, right? So like, right. You know, they call it, when you're driving to appointments, they call it windshield time kills you. Like you're just not making money. Well, if all you are is a local agency and you're running radio ads and TV ads and billboards, like if nobody's in your office, like you're just sitting there. Like, why would you not buy 3 states non-resident and even on a low budget, just dial on your own, even if it's shared leads? Like activity creates results. If you're not doing anything, you're not making any money. Like, so like, it's, you know, I don't know, like I would kill myself if I'm just sitting in an office and I can't pick up a phone and try to make money.
It's the whole point of this industry is, the whole reason I got into insurance in the first spot was I was working for a company that had capped commissions, right? So I came into this space because it was unlimited potential. And so just like to your point there, if you are either an agent or you're an agency owner and you're choosing to not optimize that potential, there was this career Mutual Omaha office where literally the agents were getting this tiny baby salary and they would just sit in that office, you guys, all day and do nothing. They'd be playing games on their phone.
Tetris.
And I just remember as an independent agent busting my ass and being like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you sitting there? So I totally believe in it.
I think it's such a hard concept too for people that are first coming in to wrap their heads around too. Like I talk to agents every week, and Glenn, I know you do too. Bob, I know you do. You do too, probably in a different capacity though. Probably looking to hire people, but like I'll talk to people that want to go independent and be field agents and kind of be self-employed, and they'll be like, what can I expect to make? Like, what am I going to make in 6 months? I'm like, well, I don't know what you're going to do in 6 months. I'm like, I can't answer.
The way I would answer, the way I would answer that question, and this is what people mess up on when they do their planning financially is, you got, and you guys, I've talked about CPA before and stuff. So you have to have like a target CPA, target media spend. You have to have a target budget, goal per apps. Like you can do, I knew enough to do that, to create that. But the other thing you have to do is add what you need to make to live. So many people miss that gap. And the other thing they do is they think, residuals are going to kick in 12 months. Well, they really don't, because if you're selling Medicare Advantage, like you could sell a policy 3 months before. So now the cash isn't coming till 15 months. Well, I guess MA is different now because they pay prorated, whatever. But like on a med sup, like you're not going to get. Sometimes the residuals still are the residuals, though. So like it could still be okay. MA is different, but med sup in a way is like you could sell a policy right now in September, effective February 1st. Like, yeah, you sold that policy in September, and yeah, you got the first year commission in September, but your residuals aren't going to start till March, dude. Because I've done everything what you guys are doing. I built the Excel files and what my residuals were going to be. And that was just a gap that I missed. But to your point, Christian, it's like, I don't know how much policies you're going to do, but whatever your budget is, you got to make sure you have enough to invest in your business and enough to pay yourself. It's almost like paralysis by analysis. Like I don't have the money to invest in my business. And so here's the answer. If you don't have enough money in the first 6 months to invest in your business and pay yourself, then you're not ready to be an independent. Like that's just the answer.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you don't have 30 grand or whatever, to go invest in your business and also have this 30 grand to pay yourself for the 6 months or whatever you're used to making, then you're just not ready yet. Or go borrow money. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Look, my uncle-in-law put $140,000 into this business and he's turned it into millions. That was the best investment he ever made. Right. But it's so funny because he's so insecure at this point. Like I had my deal a year anniversary and I had money in escrow. So whenever you do a deal, a part of your contract is called reps and warranties. And basically that you're not lying. You don't have any tax liens that, might come up. So they take a portion of the money and they put it in what's an escrow account. So I just got paid again on the escrow account and I sent him, not like last year, but yeah. I definitely went and bought another watch. Let's just say that. But
is that where that chain came from?
No, this is actually, yeah. But no, so I wired him the money because he's at North Carolina and he like texted me, hey, I just got a wire. I was like, yeah, that was the money from escrow. And he's like, it's just over time. He's like, man, he just felt bad because he wanted the money. Don't get it twisted. But he was like, he kept like feeling like he had to prove his value to me. Like I go, dude, I have no problem paying you, bro. He cut me a check overnight, you guys. Like, right. I mean, yeah, to me, that was a lot of money at the time. Now it's like, I mean, it's still a lot of money, but I appreciate it, and so I have no problem paying them. Everyone's like, oh, you should have renegotiated with them and not paid them. But like that upfront money is huge, Christian, not to go out too much on a tangent. So, if you, now again, in retrospect, okay, let me give advice on this then. If you are going to sell equity, so there's a couple of different ways to raise money. One is a loan, which is tough to get, okay, because you're not a proof of concept yet, okay?
Right.
But if you're going to sell equity in your business, I'm not going to say it's a mistake because I appreciate my uncle-in-law for doing this, but if I could go back, I would do it different. So a learning opportunity was I should have capped him out. Like I should have said, I'll sell you 20% of the business for this amount, but once you make this amount, that's the max you're going to get. Now, when you're first starting out though, like, my goal was just to be a millionaire. Like, I didn't think it was going to be where I got. So, it's easy to say that now, but you never know. And by the way, if you do that, like if you make it an outrageous number, hey, you give me $100,000. Once you make $1 million off of it, you're capped. They're not in their mind at that moment. They're going to think, well, shit. Yeah. You give me, if I can make $1 million off of this,
10X,
I'll sign it. And it sounds stupid, but like that would have saved me millions of dollars if I would have done that. And he still would have been happy. Right. So, so there's that. So yeah, so it's just evolving and pivoting. So going back to like the conversation, like, call centers,
Yeah. I know we took the scenic route. We took the scenic route to get here, but I wanted everyone to know your background, man, because again, this couldn't be a better person to have this conversation with. So call centers getting a bad reputation. People thinking that call centers are scamming seniors. They're doing things, against CMS compliance, etc. Again, that's kind of the original topic here we want to dive into. So
can I give you, Bob, can I give you my perception on what I think probably agents, why they view it that way? And I want to know if you agree or disagree. Yeah. So I think just from speaking from the standpoint of really a field agency, right? Not really a call center agency, but a field agency. What our perception is we probably get calls every single week from clients of ours that, call in about the Joe Namath commercial, right? All of these different commercials. And I think that's what agents view call centers as, right? They view these giant companies that are, running ads in all 50 states saying, call us and you'll get $150 a month back into your Social Security check, that kind of thing. And that's might not be available in the market, or they're talking about Medicaid and talking about Medis, whatever the case might be. And so like from the viewpoint and maybe the bubble that independent agent or agency's in, they're looking at it like, oh, those damn call centers, they're running these stupid commercials. That's probably where a lot of it comes from, but I'd love to hear.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because I wouldn't have, you just gave me two things to talk about. So two things. One, it's never bad when your customer calls you, ever.
Thank you.
So, so your customer calling you, like you're not in the right business if you feel that a customer calling you with a question is a problem.
Right.
Because you get a residual amount every single month. You get to service that customer. So don't be frustrated when your customers call you. Be privileged, because they are calling you. Now, operationally, I get it. Okay. Local agent, you're driving around. Let's be honest. You got mouths to feed. New business pays the bills. Okay. Then hire somebody to do your customer service. Like if you're getting those calls, hire someone to have a customer care team, do approval calls, like pay someone $15 an hour to handle those phone calls for you. But I mean, like to me, that's, I mean, so I don't think it's ever bad if a customer calls you, like ever,
It's a selling opportunity too.
Right? Better they call you than they call the commercial.
Now going to that. So going to that. First of all, shout out to Brock. He actually made like an imitation version of it. That. He's definitely gonna. It's not really an imitation because he's gonna do it. So like, shout out to him, but also what a douche, you douche. I mean, come on, like you're better than that, Brock. I'm just kidding. It's actually really. I mean, it's listen, you guys know I love Brock because going back to what you guys said, I'm a firm believer. Like, there's a lot of great voices in the industry, but like. Brock does it. Brock does this. And and when real recognizes real, like when I see Christian's content, I see Brock's content, like I know they've done this for 10,000 hours.
Yep.
Because I've done it for 10,000 hours. So when I see someone who hasn't done it for 10,000 hours, I can see through the bullshit.
It's easy to spot. It really is. A mile away. Christian and I talk about that all the time. It's so easy to tell when someone's just trying to smoke and mirrors. Like, come over here.
Look, there's a lot of successful people. There's a lot of avenues. Look, I'm all about the influencers and coaching, and I'm all about that, I think Cody's done a great job of putting the people together that have done this for 10,000 hours and like using that platform, and he does a good job of that. But there's other people that are like, talking about, they sold for like a year and now they think they're an expert. Like, dude, I've done this for a very long time and I'm not. I mean, there's things I'm an expert at, but like and I'm probably a leading expert in the industry, but like there's still things that I'm figuring out too. Like, but anyways, so give Brock a shout out there, and because you can tell he's done it. So going back to the commercial, first of all, let's just be clear. That's a lead aggregation company.
Right.
So I would be in agreement with you guys, with what I think with the community. I think that lead aggregators are underregulated. And I think that there needs to be regulation on aggregators because I think that hurts the customer's experience. Because if somebody goes to Google and they fill out a form, the lead aggregator, the experience is pretty rough because that aggregator could sell that lead to 3 to 5 call centers. And then they don't actually provide quotes, right? Very few of us do. But then they even give you like other companies to fill out. So now these people they fill out one form, they're sold to 3 to 5 companies. They then fill out another form because they didn't see the quote. So now there's like, they could have 10 different companies calling them. And that does create a very messy experience for the consumer. So I would agree that lead aggregators, I would like to see some type of regulation on them. And I don't know the problem is like that would have to be at the state level, and each state.
Right. Who would do that? Right.
Yeah. So I do think you're going to see carriers cracking down on lead sources. I can tell you on the very high level, we're getting those conversations now. Like, how do you generate your leads? Like, and it used to be web,
right.
calls. Now it's web. They actually write back. Send us your web. This one. Send us your
right.
website. Or if you're buying leads, send us the people you're buying from. Oh, we need to see their journeys.
Yep.
Right. So I definitely think you're going to, but the problem is I don't know, the carriers have to be careful too, right? Because they want the business too, right? Like we all have to balance. Everybody wants sales, they want compliance. So it's like, it's always going to be a balance, but I don't disagree. Now, I still don't think it's bad when a customer calls you. As far as those commercials go, if you did your job, especially as a local agent, like you had a piece of paper, you did a T-chart, all you should have to tell them is, well, we got the right plan for you. Look, I do think call centers, to your point, are requiring local agents to do better customer service, because it used to be you wrote them and forgot about them. Some, not everybody. Okay. And you're like, okay, that med sup's going to stay 10 years because I wrote the policy. Or dude, even before us, 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, you wrote a med sup, it was going to stay 25 years and you never really had to service it unless you wanted to. Right. So now, like if you don't call your customer, like Part D, for example, agents, and again, I'm looking at it from consumer experience.
Right.
Agents used to sell a med sup and then not help them with Part D during AEP. If you do that now, I'm stealing your customer.
Yep.
But by the way, I'm helping them with Part D this year and every single year. Like,
right.
So don't be mad at me because you can't create a process to handle your customers' Part Ds. If you're like, yeah, but it's not worth my time. Okay, good. Challenge yourself. Then you hire an agent in June and you train them to do Part Ds for AEP. Like,
so is this really kind of a situation where it's just a few bad apples that are standing out, whether it's a few bad agents in a call center or a few bad call centers in a sea of call centers where, especially like social media, it kind of exasperates the issue, right? Where people love to latch onto those stories where, oh man, this agent scams. I mean, there was that story of an agent in California who sold an annuity to someone and then they ended up going to jail because I think the person didn't even have power of attorney, but they got them to sign and got them through suitability. And so they ended up going. And that story was, I remember it seemed like forever people were bringing up this one instant and how many annuities got sold that, there was no issues, right? But then it was always like, oh, be careful.
Dude, I could play calls for you where I talked to somebody who has a Bankers Meds, Colonial Penn Med Sup because a captive agent sold him one that's $45 more than the best priced one in that area.
Yeah.
But because that local agent was captive and only sold Colonial Penn, at the end of the day, options and having the ability to purchase how the customer wants to purchase, an education that, forget the commercials that, those are misleading. Okay. And that needs CMS. There's supposed to be a process for that. Let's just be honest. CMS can tighten those guidelines, and they should. Okay. Cause they're misleading. And I get the same calls. Look, I hate someone sees that commercial in Oklahoma and they call in, or we call them. Right. And I'm like, well, you live in Oklahoma. Advantage plans are actually $66 for you. They're not getting $150 back. I'm going to call them then. Okay. They're going to tell you the same thing. I think change is the only thing that's consistent. And by the way, look at those opportunities and, okay, if those commercials, why aren't you buying those leads then? If that commercial is such a problem, find out who's generating that. And clearly the commercial is effective. So buy those leads, and close somebody, there's just, any yin, there's a yang. And instead of bitching about it, man, that commercial, man, my customers are calling it. Well, instead of thinking that, hire someone to handle those calls for you, but then think, shit, maybe I should go buy those because this is an effective commercial. Brock did it. Look, he made a copy one. Yeah. Right. Do the same thing. So, look, there's some bad call centers, man. And I think that it's catching up. I think you're going to see, I think it grew quickly. I think that I know a carrier made a mistake, where they were advancing large advances to call centers. And then they had a big issue on cancer policies because it was just a disaster. So I think you're seeing the call centers button up. I think COVID, a lot of people going back to call center versus telesales agent, right? Let's talk about the difference there. A telesales agent, you're basically a local agent selling insurance over the phone, right? So you're not regulated like a call center is. So you're selling med subs over the phone. You're selling a Medicare Advantage kind of under the radar using lean with Medicare, United Healthcare or a telesales process with Humana. Those people are actually kind of, the reality is telesales and local agents don't have to go through, I'm about to show you all the stuff I have to go through. Yes. So I do not understand how there could be a bad call, a true CMS carrier approved call center with the stuff you're talking about. I don't see how they can do that for very long, because I'm telling you guys, I had a 3-hour call with Humana just 3 weeks ago going over so many things. And I do those all the time. I had another, I have a carrier tomorrow. I have all this due diligence checklist I'm going to show you, all this compliance stuff. We have QA teams. You guys think it's hard to make money. God, I have so much staff. I have compliance officers and QA people and systems to do QA. And then I have to have managers do because they accidentally said the word best. We can't say best.
Wow.
So here's the call center. We can't say absolutes.
Right.
So we can't say best. We can't say, there's we have a whole list of words that you can't say that, I promise you, local agents say.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. We can't look at 2 advantage plans and say that's the best one for you. We're not allowed. That's we have a script. Local agents get to go in.
And can you say better? Can I just say better?
Nope, you can't say better. Yep, you can't say better. Can't say best.
They're the same, but this one.
You're on the phone, right? True. You can't even use body language, right? It's not easy. It's not, and so it's and we have our own internal compliance that busts our ass because it's their job if the carriers, so, and then agents, you're in your mojo and at 2:00, your manager pulls you in an office and goes over a 30-minute call with you that you messed up 5 times on. And you're being told if you do it again, you're going to be fired, right? That messes with the agents. Local agents don't have that type of compliance. Telesales agents, I do believe you're seeing with United Healthcare. So just a fair warning, United Healthcare is issuing new writing numbers to call centers. So if you are an agent, so here's another nugget, and you're with United Healthcare and you're doing like that telesales stuff where you're kind of under the radar, be careful because they're going to be able to identify that. So because now they're giving us all new writing numbers because we're truly call center reps. So, like the carriers are going to, now that COVID's here and it's here to stay compared to like last year, like shut everything down. Everyone got away with a lot of stuff last year. But like, I really think that they're like, I'm telling you, there's a lot of initiative, Glenn, to your point, like of making sure that the true call centers are operating the right way. And that's something that even AmeriLife, look, we've had a few groups that like we've had to go meet with and say, look, you can't operate the way you're operating. You need to come and do what you need to do.
Don't they limit the number of true call center contracts that they'll divvy out too?
United Healthcare does. Like we're going to be we're the only one. Each FMO, I think, has 2 going into this year. Like each IMO FMO is allowed to have 2. And so they're walking before they run. Right. I don't think Cigna or Humana or Aetna have a limit. I just think like, I know that there's requirements you have to meet. And then there's audits. I mean, by God, I go through an audit every quarter. Right. I have to send calls. And then I have a huge audit every year. Like, and it's like, so like this idea, like my agents are not lying to people. They physically can't, like,
right.
Because they would be like, one, I would fire them. Internal would fire them. Their manager would fire. Like there's like 7 checks and balances. And if it ever got to a carrier, like we would be termed, like if there's an issue that we're not addressing.
Right.
So if I can share my screen, I just want to share with everybody, like,
please do.
Yeah,
stuff that
absolutely.
Like a call center that does it the right way kind of has to go through. So let me see. I've never shared.
I mean, so kind of your point then, when there's a really bad story that comes out, which, again, we see these stories on social media, you feel like it's more likely a local telesales agent, someone selling over the phone from home, or a small agency where they're trying to fly under the radar. It's much more likely that it's that situation than a true call center.
Yeah, just like you have a local broker that goes and sells a carrier that's more expensive because the commissions are percentage based, right? Or because there's a trip.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that okay? like, I'm gonna go sell you, like there's a carrier going to Hawaii versus Ireland. I want to go to Hawaii, so I'm going to sell that carrier even though it's $15 more.
Yep.
Like, see, we don't play those. Like, we don't allow.
You can't. Yeah, you can't.
We have an agent that sells somebody that's not the best price. Our system flags it and says why, right? Like do right by the customer. So here's. Can you see my document? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my goal for this is not to go line by item and show you guys. I'm happy to share this document. Again, shout out to Brian Keevan that works with me with our affiliates at AmeriLife. Like him and I collaborated on this document. So like if you look here, like for Medicare Advantage call center signature approval carrier guidelines, right? So you got to be you got to be contracted with us. Obviously, you got to meet carrier specific requirements for call centers, telesales licenses. Some of them, you have to have. Some of them say, well, if you're going to be a call center, you have to have each agent in 20 states. Okay. That investment there, think about it.
A ton of money.
I mean, that's huge. Some say 10, some say 5, right? So you have annual production requirements, right? Like you got to hit. You must record calls, and we have to store calls for 10 years. So I could have a customer complain to CMS that I sold 8 years ago, and I have to be able to provide that call to the carrier.
Wow.
We have to keep calls for 10 years. Okay. Carriers have certain KPIs. We have to have a certain abandonment rate. We have to have a speed to answer. We have to have a service level, right? So like if our abandonment rate gets too high, meaning customer, like this is part of our audits. We have to send this data to them. If somebody calls in and can't get a hold of us, there's a certain threshold that then the carrier will term us. Okay.
Wow.
Must have the ability to quote and enroll online. So Sunfire is a great platform for that. We have to have alternative language. Like if somebody calls in that says, I only know Russian, like we have to pay for a service that we can have someone speak Russian with us.
Right.
Like, I mean, agency leadership, like all of us, like we have to have this is people that cost money, but don't generate any revenue. Agency management staff, sales management staff, compliance, quality assurance, training, IT, operations, contracting, marketing, we have to go, they have to approve our onboarding and offboarding process. We have to have exit interviews that we have to share with the carriers sometimes. Data and security, like, dude, that's expensive if you do it right. I promise you, most people listen to this call, even if they're an approved call center, they're not doing the data and security that you're supposed to.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like we have minimum QAs per agent that we have to do and report on. There's just, different, like, so these are just a few things, look at this. I mean, again, I'm not going to go through all, I could spend like
right.
This, when we onboard a call center, this is a 2-day process, but like all of this data, like, and by the way, all of your officers have to go through background checks and credit checks. Okay. Like, imagine your friend you hired, and then they have a bad credit score. So now you got to fire them or they can't have that role.
Out of curiosity, what's the cutoff on that?
They don't tell you. Like, they don't tell you. They just say the background check didn't come back. That's what they'll say. I haven't had that problem, but like, that's what they'll say. Agency model, you have to have all these are all PowerPoints that you have to basically have ready on deck. What is the strategic focus for your agency? How many years have you been in business? All these like questions that you have to answer. Marketing materials. We have to do wireframes on our landing pages and show them. We have all these lucid charts of all of our journeys that we have to submit. Production information. What's your data? And you got to show them how many MAs are you doing, how many PDPs, all that stuff. Here's, document checklist. You have to have policies and procedures. You have to have for compliance, data security, training program, training calendar. You have to have, agent roster or, just some stuff like, you have to be a real business to be an approved call center. You can't just fall into it. Certain state coverage, agent roster documents,
It's an incredible amount of red tape. I mean, I knew there was a lot. We've talked a lot about your process, and again, understanding AmeriLife, it's $1 billion company. Obviously, they're going to be as protective as possible on everybody's end, protecting the carrier, protecting the consumer, protecting the agent. But I mean, this is incredible. It really is amazing to see a peek behind the curtain.
It's funny because it must have been literally a couple of days ago. Someone came into the Facebook group and posted a post. They're like, "Hey, I need call center contracts. Who can send me some call center contracts?" So something along those lines. And I was like, my response was, I was like, you can't just roll out of bed and get call center contracts. I didn't even know the ins and outs of kind of the requirements, but I knew it's no joke. But my God.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, like, our agents have to lock their computers anytime they get up. Wow. I mean, it's just, I mean, look, this is the remote computing requirements. Like, you have to have VPN, so you have to have certain security requirements. Agent shall require, and I don't have to keep going through all this stuff because it can get boring after a while. But I think you guys get the point. Like, when someone says, like, there's a bad call center doing bad things, I'm thinking, how the hell are they getting away with it? Like, because I mean, if I could take a shortcut, I'd love to, but I mean, you just can't. So, I just wonder, how they're able, and if they are doing it the wrong way, it's a matter of time till they get caught. That's in any industry. Like, there's always going to be people. So just like there's local agents that are doing stuff wrong, I'm sure there's that. But so I just wanted to show everybody that, there's a lot of work that goes in, like, to what Danielle Kunkel does and what Jagger and David Haas do, and what all these call centers do. It's not. There's a reason why we sell for millions of dollars when we sell. Like, there's a huge infrastructure lift that that goes into being a call center, basically.
Incredible amount of information that you just provided. And again, like, I think the bottom line, you guys, is there's always going to be people doing it the right way and people doing it the wrong way. Yeah. And on the final expense side, kind of track all the way back to that original post that I had mentioned where someone said 9 out of 10 final expense policies are criminal. I've seen it firsthand. Sometimes it is pure fraud. You get in there, they didn't even know they had that policy. It's being drafted every month. I get it. But to say 90% of final expense policies are fraud, when I can tell you so many different call centers who have an excellent strategy, just like what Bob was sharing with us. They're diligent. They train their agents. They have a compliance department. it's just absurd. It's absurd to think that the majority of agents out there, whether it's telesales or not, is committing some sort of fraud to seniors.
I guess my closing statement would just be, to your point, there's bad apples in every industry, in every channel. And the Medicare space is an ever-growing market. If you're new to this space and you're watching this channel, it's a great space to be in. Don't be intimidated by what I just showed you. It's all obtainable and doable. Like it's, you can be a call center. You can go through that process. But I don't think call centers are bad for the industry. Do I think there could be some more we're regulated. Do I think that should apply to aggregators and stuff like that? Yes. I think local brokers we're held to higher standards than other people. So I don't see how it can be that way. But my point is, from a consumer perspective, if the call center is requiring you to provide better customer service, if the call centers are requiring you to get phone calls from your customers, those are all good things, right? And if the call center is creating a platform for people to purchase the way they want to purchase, that's a good thing. And the last thing I'll say is, it's not going anywhere. So it's the rules to the game are in front of you. So you can either try to change the rules or try to beat the game, right? And so I would learn as much as you can and try to beat the game. Unfortunately, people that try to change rules and stuff, they don't make any money. So whatever your goals are, I just want to know the rules of the game, and then I'll try to beat it. And that's how, So I just think last thing is, again, better customer service is what's happening from it. I think that's good. If you don't service your customers' drug plan needs, and they go online, we're going to sell them a med sup and help them with their drug plan. And that's not the call center being bad. How about some accountability? That's you not doing a good job.
That's them doing what you should have done.
Exactly. But do you think, dude, I've done it. Like when I tell you Part D, I have done thousands in AEP. Like on a Sunday, every Sunday was my day to do PDPs, because I never call it on Sundays except that Sunday, the last week of AEP. And I'm not judging anyone who does. I just physically can't call people on Sundays. I don't know why. That's when I would do PDPs, and that's when you can do it. Look, if you want to be rich, it's not easy. If you want to be wealthy, it's even harder, right? So to say I don't want to do the PDPs. Okay, then don't. But I will, and then we're going to get your med sup business.
Yep,
100%.
Exactly. I literally just recorded a video about this 3 days ago. I came in on a Saturday and I recorded a video all about PDPs and why agents should write them. It's so true. I couldn't tell you how many times, when I used to do windshield time when I was starting the business, that I would go to somebody's house during AEP and maybe I couldn't get them on a sup at that point in time. Maybe they weren't healthy enough. Maybe their rate was too good, whatever the case might be. But I wrote their PDP because their PDP was not serviced. It hadn't been kept up. And then 6 months later, when their rate goes up, or maybe a year down the road, when maybe they're, through a 2-3 year, look back of something, we're able to go back and write it. There's countless of those. And so I think that's such great advice, and it's true. Really what it comes down to me is that, the agent looks at it like there's no money in PDPs. Well, you look at what Justin Brock posts every AEP of their PDP commissions, it's 6 figures or more, So everything adds up. And I think it's also an agent just being lazy, and don't be lazy. Do the work, do the PDPs.
100%.
There's no shortcut to there's no get rich. This is 14, 12 years in. There's no, there's no get rich quick thing that's really sustainable. And if you find one, hit me up. It's just, look, and it's challenging, and it's a lot of work, and it's hard. I get it, but be better, just be better. For me, PDP is a med sup lead. I get their meds right up front. And I'm so good at med sup underwriting guidelines. I know based on their meds, what conditions they have, and
diabetic heart condition. Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are we going?
You take metformin, you take lisinopril up, you take gabapentin. That's going to be a knockout with 90% of the companies. but then you still just do their drug plan, especially now with Sunfire and stuff and all these texts. Like I was telling you, like in some ways it's easier now, some ways it's harder. Like, oh my God, Sunfire text enrollment. I can just get your meds and email you or text you a link that you click and sign up and then I get paid. Like, are you kidding? So
like some voodoo stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think the future is going to be hybrids like what you're building, Christian. And that goes to being that, I really believe that. I think you and Brock have an advantage even over us to an extent. I mean, we're a branch of AmeriLife, so we kind of have that too, right? As a whole, AmeriLife can service how people want to buy because AmeriLife is still at 99% local agents. I mean, I'm not,
right.
we are. My call center, even with 100 people, like when I get all the reports and like there's all these bars of where the production's coming from. Like my bar is this big, like compared to the relevant production that AmeriLife's doing. But we're gearing up. I mean, that's why this sales force that we're doing. The idea is to create all that checklist I showed you. Look, the industry's going to this. I'm gearing up for it. We're gearing up for agents to be able to do both.
So kind of final question for you, and Bob, I appreciate your time. I don't want to.
You're good. Galen's going to yell at me for being late.
Well, then I'm going to keep you another hour then. No, kind of my final question for you is, what do you think the future of the Medicare's, last week, for example, we were talking about, the scary stuff like Medicare for all and a one payer system. What's your opinion on what does the next 5 to 10 years of the Medicare space look like for everyone that's involved? Because again, I've been in the industry for almost 10 years. When I first got into the industry, I was told over and over and over, don't get into Medicare. It's gonna change. There's no money there. So I'm just curious, I hear all sorts of different answers today. I still hear a lot of fear mongering. I still hear a lot of people saying, don't do it. It's going to go away soon. But I'd love to hear, an expert like you who's been doing this for as long as you have. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think the industry as a whole is going in the next 5 to 10 years.
Great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. So here, as far as it going somewhere, there's actually a lot. I think the indication for me is there's a lot smarter people that are working at these private equity groups, and they're getting into the space more and more. And they're super smart. I mean, they know lobbyists. These groups that are managing billions of dollars, like they're not guessing, right? I mean, they're making educated decisions. So the fact that you're seeing private equity space predominantly getting into the market, you're seeing companies go public, and there's an appetite for it. I think the future in Medicare is bright. I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think there's a challenge. Hold on, David's knocking. 1 second. Hang on.
We interrupt this program.
He's banging me for dinner. He doesn't turn down a free meal. He's like a linebacker.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
No, you're good.
So Dave?
I do think I think there's a couple challenges. I think you're going to continue to see Medicare Advantage take market share over MedSup. I just think that you're seeing seniors, less prepared for retirement. I think that you're seeing the Medicare Advantage plans saving the government's paying them more and more money to do it. I think doctors are getting used to a managed care system. So I think the Medicare Advantage overall is working. And the truth is MedSups don't make carriers that much money. I think a downside, how easy it is to switch, nowadays, I do think you could see a MedSup commission decrease. I don't think that's in the next 3 years or 5 years, but I think you're going to see some of the economics squeeze on MedSup, or you're going to see MedSups have more cost share like the Plan N or the high deductible G. And it's tough to make money on a high deductible G, right? Because the premium's $40. So 20% of $45, $60 is not. So, I think you're going to see more. I think you're going to see the MedSups starting to look more like Medicare Advantage with no network. So they're going to have more cost sharing, which will have a lower premium. And then I think you're going to see MA continue to be pretty strong, at least for the next 5 years. It's just, in order for that to change, it would take longer than 5 years.
Right. So is the kind of Plan F going away? Was that kind of the writing on the wall then?
Yeah, I think, the whole idea of overutilization, and all of a sudden Plan G is going to fix it. I just think that you're seeing the demographic of seniors, you got to remember, one of the reasons Plan F was so popular is seniors 30 years ago had group insurance that paid everything and it was great and stuff like that. Let's be honest. We're all kind of used to shitty insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so I mean, it's not and by the way, like a Medicare Advantage is better than any group plan we have. And it's got no deductible most of the time. Right. And a high deductible G with a $2,300 out of pocket limit for $50 a month. Like that's not a bad plan. So I think you're going to see stuff like Plan K, L, and M, like maybe take some traction. Like, you know what? If I go to the hospital, maybe I don't need all the bill paid. Maybe if half of it's paid, I'm okay with that. Because the truth is I'll work it out with the hospital. Let's be honest. If I owe the hospital $600, they'll probably take $100. They'll let the supplement pay the other half of the Part A deductible, and I'll probably pay them $100. I won't owe them any money. So I think I think you're going to see brokers are still a big role. There's nothing that's showing in any of the research that seniors are ready for self-enrollment dependency. They're still dependent on that voice saying this is the right decision for you. Is that the call center approved? Okay, yes. There we go. I needed that. This is the right decision. This is based on your medications and the doctors you provided. This plan seems to satisfy your needs.
I love it. Tastes like it's like a saltine cracker. That's what that sounds like. It's like that's just nice and generic.
It goes back to my point. I mean, we can't tell people what you guys can. It's a free plan. Right. Man, you're gonna love it. Like you can't say it. Like that's where these guys are saying we're bad. I think you guys are bad. Like I have to talk to people and they say their agent told them they have a free supplement. What? You don't.
What?
There's no such thing as a free supplement.
To be fair, I'd say probably 70% of my MA clients, 6 months after we sell it to them, we'll do the presentation. We'll explain everything completely the way it's supposed to be. They'll call in 6 months later. They'll talk to one of our admins and they'll be like, my supplement's free. And like, you don't have a supplement. Like,
no, and that's so funny
when I told you that because we didn't say that.
So it's funny you say that because like, even when someone says they have a Medicare Advantage supplement, we still ask follow-up questions. So like if someone says they have a supplement, we'll say like, oh no, if they have an Advantage, we'll say, do you have a premium? Is your drug plan included? Because like, nobody knows what they have. And that's what I tell my marketing team all the time. Because we were looking at, now I'll finish this, but we were looking at product segmentation, purchasing, having some of the call center only focus on Medigap, some only MA. The problem is when you're working search leads, like somebody who's searching for Medicare supplement, like they don't know what they're really looking for. Now,
right.
What we can do now, right, is we can actually append that data with their credit score, income level, and stuff like that. And then we can route that lead to somebody who might be a stronger Advantage person. So there's things that we can do to compensate for that. But yeah, to your point, nobody knows what they have. That's why my intro, which is worked for years, is I do my compliant intro, which is nuts because it's long, but I always end with, what is your current coverage? Never end with, how are you doing today? I hate the question, what were you looking for? Like, I hate it. Like they don't know what they're looking for. That's why they're looking, but that could be a whole different conversation. So in summary, I think if call centers are requiring you to do your job better and they're giving customers easier access to purchase, I don't think call centers are bad. And you saw the compliance and stuff we got to go through, and the future is bright. I think MA is going to take more and more market share. I think you're going to see more cost sharing med subs over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think you might see a comp squeeze at the med sup level at some point, just because it's getting harder and harder for them to make money because people are switching more. So it's easier to switch. So the more carriers right now, it's taking them 3.5. I don't know if you guys know this. Did you know it takes 3.5 or 4 years for a med sup carrier to break even or make money?
Christian, didn't you just say, was it last week? You mentioned, didn't you say 5 years last week?
I thought that Galen had told me it was like 4 or 5 years or something like that. But I've heard a lot of different numbers, but I knew it took time. I knew it took a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, carriers are targeting 3.5 to 4 years. So to Galen's point, they might be at 5 years, just like we target certain sales numbers and we might come up short or whatever. But like, so even if it's 4 years, just take an average or whatever, like as those people keep switching and stuff, like what if that goes to 6 years? Like they're going to do, they're going to do something. Look, this isn't every industry. It's always a regulation period, a deregulation period, and then a regulation period, deregulate. There's always, things are really, really good, things tighten up. Things are really, really good, things tighten up. So right now we're still in that really, really good part where MAs are really strong. Med sub comps are really strong. The premiums are still pretty good. I would say over the next, 10 years from now, you might see the med sub. Look, the premiums are either going to have to go up or they're going to have to cut commissions. Like one of the two.
Right.
So we'll
Can't
see what
keep
happens.
doing both.
Either way, though, disruption in the marketplace is fantastic. Okay. If the carriers decide to raise med sub rates, opportunity to sell them a different med sub or introduce advantage to somebody, right? If Medicare Advantage plans get worse, it's a good opportunity to talk about med sub. Like that's the great thing about this industry is there's no wrong answer. It's a bright future because people still need somebody it's very complicated to the average person. And we forget that this is not an easy process.
Oh yeah. Bobby, I'm getting nervous that Galen's gonna send me anthrax in the mail if I keep you any longer. Yeah. No, but I really appreciate your time, your expertise. Any final thought? I know you kind of already did some final, but any final words you'd like to share before we kind of drop the stream here?
Kiss your babies and your family and tell them you'll see them after AEP and make some money. That's it.
There it is. Yes.
Thank you for your time, Glenn, as always. And to our wonderful Taco Tuesday army, the TTs. I'm not going to say it this time. I decided it's probably
thank
not
you
good
for
the
TTs, bro. I'm going to get you a shirt that's going to be bad if you keep calling it TTs.
The TTs.
Well, what I was calling it before was worse, so I'm just trying not.
Yes.
Wait, so are you so young now that like you have to have an abbreviation for Taco Tuesday? Like that's too short? Like
I guess so.
That's like you meet somebody like what's a name like someone like name like Justin, right? It's 5 letters and we call them Jay. Like are we that? Like it's 2 syllables. Like that's too much. Justin, no, your name is Jay.
It's too much work to get it out of your mouth.
That's right. That's right.
All right, guys. Listen, hey, again, kudos to you guys. Great platform. I watch. If I don't watch it live, I typically watch it throughout the day, throughout the week. So it's good to see you guys as always. And I know you guys are both going to have a great AEP, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you coming on, Bob. Till next time.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you next week, guys.